The story of Alexander the Great is a story of ambition, genius, and relentless pursuit. A story of a young man who, in just a decade, reshaped the known world. Born in 356 BC in Pella, Macedonia, Alexander was no ordinary prince. Tutored by Aristotle, he absorbed philosophy, science, and medicine, but he was equally trained in warfare, riding, and the art of command. From an early age, it was clear he was destined for greatness. By 334 BC, at just 20 years old, Alexander inherited not just the throne of Macedonia, but the ambitions of his father, King Philip II. Philip had united Greece through a combination of diplomacy and military might, forging the Hellenic League, a coalition of city-states designed to launch a coordinated attack against the Persian Empire. Now, with Macedonia secure, Alexander's eyes turned east, to the land of the mighty Persians. The Persian Empire was vast, rich, and powerful, stretching from the Mediterranean to the Indus River. Its armies were immense, its cavalry formidable, and its cities glittered with wealth. For centuries, the Persians had cast themselves as the unchallengeable rulers of the world. Yet, across the Hellespont, a young Macedonian king was about to challenge that notion. Alexander's army, numbering roughly 40,000 men, was a carefully balanced machine of precision and power. At its core was the Macedonian phalanx, 9,000 soldiers wielding the sarissa, an 18-foot-long pike that turned their formation into a wall of iron. Flanking them were elite hypaspists, expert in close combat, guarding the vulnerable edges. Light infantry and archers from Thrace, Illyria, and Macedonia itself provided mobility and ranged attacks. And atop it all rode the companion cavalry, Alexander's personal unit of 1,800 elite horsemen, trained to strike fear into the hearts of any opponent. Every soldier, every unit, was part of a symphony of war, orchestrated by a young king whose mind saw battle as a puzzle to be solved. The first major test came at the river Granicus. The Persian satraps, convinced they could crush the invaders, formed their army along the riverbank. Alexander, ignoring caution, led a daring river crossing under a storm of arrows, spear thrusts, and javelins. Horses collided, men clashed, and chaos reigned. In the thick of the fight, Alexander faced two Persian nobles in personal combat. A sword struck his helmet, splintering metal over his head, but he survived. His companions cut down his attackers, and the Macedonian phalanx surged across the river, crushing the Persian line. Victory was Alexander's, and Asia Minor lay open to him. Alexander did not rest. He moved south into Syria and Phoenicia, confronting fortified cities that tested not just his army, but his ingenuity. At Tyre, a city built on an island, he engineered a massive causeway, a floating bridge of earth and timber, while under constant attack from flaming ships and missiles. 7 months of siege culminated in victory. Tyre fell, its walls breached, its citizens enslaved or killed. Across Gaza and into Egypt, Alexander was unstoppable. At Memphis, the priests crowned him pharaoh, a liberator and conqueror. At the Oracle of Siwa, the desert priests hailed him as the son of Amun, king of the gods, a sign, they said, of his divine favor. Then came the confrontation with Darius III, the king of kings. At Issus, Alexander faced an army nearly double his size, a force of 100,000 Persian troops backed by elite Greek mercenaries and chariots of war. The battlefield was narrow, hemmed in by mountains and the sea. Yet Alexander's brilliance turned the terrain into a weapon. Leading his right wing, he struck the Persian flank, drawing Darius's forces out of position. Cavalry clashed, spears locked, arrows darkened the sky. In the chaos, Alexander fought his way through the Persian center, and Darius, seeing the tide of battle turn, fled. The Macedonian victory was complete, the Persian royal family captured, and Alexander's legend only grew. But Alexander's ambitions could not be sated by Western Persia alone. He pushed further east, into Mesopotamia, Babylonia, and beyond. At Gaugamela, near modern Mosul, he faced Darius again, this time on an open plain suited to Persian numbers and chariots. Yet Alexander's tactics, combining feints, charges, and the relentless shock of his companion cavalry, broke the Persian center. Darius fled once more, leaving Alexander in control of the Persian Empire's heartlands. Babylon, Susa, and Persepolis, the ceremonial and economic capitals, fell to him. Persepolis was burned, a symbolic act of revenge for the Persian destruction of Athens decades earlier. Alexander's campaign did not end with conquest. He sought to integrate the cultures of his empire, marrying Persian princesses, adopting Persian customs, and encouraging his Macedonian soldiers to do the same. He founded cities, more than a dozen named Alexandria, spreading Greek culture across Egypt, Mesopotamia, and Central Asia. He crossed deserts, scaled mountains, and forged rivers, always pushing toward the edges of the known world. Yet, Alexander's story is also one of fragility. His victories came at immense cost. Thousands of soldiers died, entire cities were razed, and dissent simmered in the empire he sought to unify. His relentless ambition left him with few allies, many enemies, and a kingdom too vast to control easily. By 323 BC, at just 32 years old, Alexander would die in Babylon, leaving behind an empire without a clear heir, destined to fracture into the Hellenistic kingdoms that would shape the Mediterranean and Near East for centuries. Alexander the Great was more than a military genius. He was a visionary, a strategist, a man who dared to imagine the impossible, and then make it reality. His life was a whirlwind of conquest and culture, of bloodshed and brilliance, of human ambition tested against the limits of the known world. And even today, more than 2 millennia later, his story remains a testament to the power of vision, courage, and relentless pursuit. A story of one man whose dreams changed the course of history forever.